Good morning. Last time, we spoke about the fact that there are four levels. The lower level of fear, and the first level of love, which is the lower level of love, the higher level of love, and then the higher level of fear. The fact that says that we are going out to the field, lehakbil, to greet the king, this is the concept of the lower level of fear, accepting the yoke of God. The fact that he accepts and receives everyone with a pleasant face, awakens in us the lower level of love. The fact that it shows a smiling face, that awakens in us the higher level of love. And afterwards, when he goes back to his palace, then that's the moment that we fear yirah, ila'ah, the higher level of fear, because now he is in his palace. And besides that, the fact that we're blowing the shofar, so we're attaching ourselves to the essence, because it's a mitzvah. So at that moment we really fear the awe, the fear, not only because of the holiness of the day, but mostly because of the great revelation of Hashem, which cannot happen when you're not doing a mitzvah. Vehine, we're in letter Vav. Av shebehadarga de'yirah, yirah de'elul, lemata me'yirah de'Rosh Hashanah. Even though the fear of Elul is a lower level of fear than the fear of Rosh Hashanah, Mikol makom yesh ma'ala be'yirah de'elul ha'yirah de'Rosh Hashanah. There's an advantage, nevertheless, in the fear of Elul versus the fear that we experience during Rosh Hashanah. כי העירה והביטול שבראש השנה, כיוון שאז הוזמן התגלות מלכותו יתברך, because why is it that we are nullified the race surrender before Hashem on Rosh Hashanah? It's because God's royalty is revealed. Ayira v'abitul az enam chidush. There, it's no news, nothing new and nothing special that we're going to fear. You have the king right in front of you. He is in his splendor, in his royal, regal garb, and everything is revealed. You feel how small you are. So of course it's nothing new. It's obvious. The kevan shekula kameh kelo chashiv, since everything is nothing before him. V'chol shehu kami yoter u yoter kelo, the closer something is to Hashem, the more he feels how nothing he is. הרי זה שישראל הם בביטול ליראה אליה בזמן ראש השנה, כשהם נמצאים בהיכל מלכותו, the fact that the Jewish people are annulled with such a higher level of fear in the time of Rosh Hashanah, when they find themselves in his royal palace, and בזה חידוש. This is nothing new, nothing special. ובדוגמה ביטול שבאצילות שהם בזה חידוש, just like in Atzilut, the world of emanation in which everything is completely nullified before him, and we only feel Hashem. Why? מכיוון שבאצילות מאיר גילוי אור אין סוף. Over there, the revelation of the infinite light of Hashem is revealed. הדרך זה באצילות גופה, in Atzilut itself, שהביטול שבספירת החוכמה, the חוכמה of Atzilut itself feels it even more so, and has a complete awareness and consciousness of this great revelation. שבאו עיקר הביטול, that's when the main ביטול is. אין לו חידוש, it's nothing new. לפי שבחוכמה הוא הגילוי דהוא לבדו ואין זולתו. Because we know חוכמה is the level that feels that there is no one but Hashem and nothing else. ומכל שכן הביטול דכתר. And how much more so, Keter itself, which is higher than Chokhmah, feels at the level of Atzilut how extraordinary and how awesome Hashem is, and therefore is in a complete state of bitul. ואף על גב דהות אורצח, וכולו, הוקם וקדם עילת העילות, הפירוש הוקם, הוא שהכתר הוא בביטול כמו מראה השחור שאינו גבוה נגד מראה הלבן. לגבי אור האינסוף שלמעלה מהכתר עילת העילות. So he says that furthermore, what happens? Even Keter feels its lack in front of the greatness of Hashem. And even though Keter is a light which is unbearable, it's so incredible, the light of Keter. Right? It feels dark in front of the whiteness of the light. In front of the cause of all causes. שאין זה חידוש, מכיוון שהכתר משיג שהוא בין ארוך לגבי אור אינסוף. The keter feels that it understands, it grasps that it's nothing in proportion to the infinite light of Hashem. והיראה והביטול באלול. This is all the yirah that we feel during Rosh Hashanah. It's compared to being in the king's palace. It's normal. והיראה והביטול באלול, and the fear and the nullification we experience during the month of Elul, כשהמלך הוא בשדה, when he is in the field, שאז אין ירגש הגלות והרוממות שלו. We don't feel the greatness and the fact that it's aloof and so elevated and so on and so forth. He's in the field. ואף על פי כן, ישנו הביטול לישראל, שמקבלים עליהם מלכותו יתברך. Nevertheless, there is the bitul of the Jewish people, the annulling of oneself in front of the king, even when you don't feel his royalty. ולעוד שגם תוקעים בשופר לעורר יראה וחרדה. Not only that, we blow the shofar in order to awaken fear and trepidation at a moment that you don't see that the king is so aloof. בכדי שהקבלת מהמלכות תהיה בשלמות, in order to have that sense of receiving the royalty of Hashem in a complete way. That's why we do it that way. הנה ביטול זה, אף שהוא ביטול היש, הוא יקר מאוד בעיני הוויה. Even though this bitul is the nullification of self, which means there is self. It's not that there's no self. There is self. But nevertheless, that bitul is very, very cherished by God. ויש לומר, על ידי התענוג של המלך מזה שיוצאים לקראתו לקבל פניו קבלת מלכותו יתברך, בהיותו בשדה. And we should say that through the pleasure of the king, from the fact that we're going out to greet him, we're receiving upon ourselves his royalty, even when he is in the field. מתוסף עוד יותר בזה שהוא מקבל לכולם בספר פנים יפות ומראה פנים שוחקות לכולם. At this moment, this accentuates the fact that he receives us pleasantly and with a smiling face. But let's explain here, it's beautiful. Before we said, the fact that he receives us with a pleasant face, that awakens, arouses in us the lower level of love and then the higher level of love. Now he's saying the fact that we're going out and we're recognizing that he's a king and we're going with that fear and trepidation as if he was in his palace, even though he is with us. That arouses in him a greater sense of receiving us with a more pleasant face and showing us more joy, a more smiling face. Something in the psychology of this which is extraordinary. Mm-hmm. Because I am forced, if you take it lightly, then basically I'm going to see the king. And okay, so, the king is human. So at that moment, the king is going to give you a smile. He's going to receive you. But you didn't leave enough space inside of you to be able to receive more of the king. By the fact that you're making the effort to break yourself, you're making space. That space that you are creating by thy brokenness of spirit permits the king to actually be present inside of you, to show you more of that pleasantness, to bring you closer. It's when you think you're far and you realize the distance that he wants to bring you closer. Those who don't feel that distance. All right? So, okay. You don't feel that distance anyways. I don't have to bring you closer. Which means according to the consciousness you have of whom you're standing in front of, the more consciousness you have, the more he is going to bring you closer, because here there's no danger. With the person that doesn't, if you think about it, with the person that doesn't consider how aloof the king is even in the field, if the king's going to go show him more smiling face, receiving more pleasantly, he's going to disrespect more the king in a sense. Because look, I'm not feeling that he's the king, and he's showing me more love and more this and more that. See that we're close to each other. It's Davka, the person that has the appreciation even when the king is not in his palace, to recognize he's a king, that the king can bring him closer. Because if that's the way he behaved before, when the king brings him closer, he's going to be even more humbled. He's going to be even more broken by the fact that, how can I even be in that so much? How can it bring me so much attention? I feel so small. ויש להוסיף המעלה שבירד ביטול דאלו לגבי היראה והביטול דראש השנה היא לא רק מצד החידוש שבזה, אלא גם בעניין הביטול. It's not only that there's something wonderful here that's happening that's not natural, not like Rosh Hashanah where it's natural to fear, but it's even the way that it's done that is special in Elul. והביטול שעל ידי גילוי, כיוון שהביטול הוא מפני שמכיר ומרגיש העילוי דה הגילוי שהוא בין ארוך לגביו, הרי הביטול קשור למציאות האדם, ההכרה שלו. When I know that the king is revealed, therefore I am the one grasping how great the king is. And therefore it's my perception connection to the king on Rosh Hashanah is proportionate to my effort, my understanding. ואמיתת עניין הביטול הוא בעבודה דקבלתו. שהוא כמו עבד שמצד עול האדון שמוטל עליו הוא מוכרח לקיים רצון האדון. He says the real level of bitul is when I'm like a servant that accepts his yoke. And because of the yoke that was put upon him by his master, he is obligated to do the will of the master. Which means here I'm putting, it's not my head that's understanding. I just recognize that I'm a servant to this king. And that is a how do you call it? You break yourself. You have to break your nature. You're breaking your nature by doing so. It's not your understanding, it's above your understanding. It's just accepting the yoke and getting with the program because you have to get with the program. ועל פי זה יש לבאר מה שכתוב במאמר שהמשכת המקים לראש השנה היא בעיקר על ידי Now we can explain based on this how the level of makif, the level of the surrounding light that is shining on Rosh Hashanah, is actually caused and brought about through the shofar of Elul. How? כי זה שעל ידי החרדה וחרדה לדברי הוא המשכת המקיף בית. ובעיקר כשהחרדה היא באופן לביטול ושפלות. It says this, that the fear, right, we explained earlier a verse, that explained the mashal. It says, a verse, the Rabbi says, השמיים כסאי והארץ אדום רגלי, איזה בית? ועל זה אביט אל עני ונכה רוח. It says, the heavens are my throne. The earth is my pedestal. Where is the bayit? Which is the house where I'm going to dwell? The house represents the surrounding light. Ve'al ze abit, where I'm going to look at the ani, the poor, and neche ruach, which is the one which is broken. Neche ruach, the Rabbi said, is basically the one that's able to bring about the house which represents which means that through the brokenness, you can bring about the surrounding light of Hashem. And the one which is chared al devarai, which is the one which is in trepidation to do my word. So the Rabbi is coming back to that. So he says that since during Elul is the moment that you awaken that trepidation, so that's what's going to bring the Ora Makif, the bait, the house. So to say the Ora Makif, the surrounding light of Elul, of Rosh Hashanah. It's when I feel completely humbled, ani, poor of actions, and a broken spirit. As it says, that the more a person is going to humble himself, the makif, the level of the surrounding light that he is going to draw down is much higher. What we said before. Rabbi said, because he feels the fear, and the king shows him more. And therefore, the main aspect of feeling broken because of myself and feeling humbled is during Elul. You understand how it's during Elul and not during Rosh Hashanah? Because I'm making the effort. Because the reason why he feels trepidation and fear during Rosh Hashanah is because he feels that revelation from above. And it's not the fact that I feel in Rosh Hashanah that God is great and I have that fear is not because of my humbleness or my feeling humility and smallness. The main point of feeling so small is during the month of Elul. There's another advantage, advantage of the fear, in the fear of Elul versus the fear of Rosh Hashanah. כיוון שהיראה והביטול לאלול בא על ידי עבודתם של ישראל, אני לדודי, שהשורש ישראל הוא בעצמות, לכן ההמשכה של ידי היראה וביטול זה היא המשכת העצמות. It says, being that the bitul, the humbleness, the littleness, is through the service of the Jewish people, which the Jewish people, the source, the root of their soul, is in the essence of Hashem. Therefore, what we're able to draw down from this bitul, from this nullification, from this surrender, right, is from the essence itself. ויש לומר שזהו הטעם הפנימי על זה שמהעירה דתא דאלול בהם אחר כך, בעירה בראש השנה. Now we understand why it's the fear of Elul that brings about the higher level of fear in Rosh Hashanah. It's a result. Because through the fear of Elul, I'm able to bring down the essence. And then but when I have the essence, then all the revelations would come with the essence, just accompany the essence. So here we learn the extraordinary avodah, the extraordinary service that we have during Elul, that because it's from the effort, from our effort, how it's able to actually bring about a much higher light afterwards in Rosh Hashanah.